If you're creating a brand strategy, make sure you don't make the number one mistake which trips up most strategists. But firstly, let's get a clear definition of brand strategy. A brand strategy is the overarching message we're trying to communicate to our consumer. The overarching message has the consumer as the main character. Our message is about what problem we are solving for them and what goal we are helping them to reach in their world. Marketers often say it answers the why. Why are we in business? I always found that a little bit confusing though, because the reason we're in business is to make money. However, that is why it is so important to have the consumer as the main character, not the business. The consumer doesn't care about how you're making money. They care about solving their problems and reaching their goals. When they do that with our product, we reach our goal as well. In this video, you'll walk away with an understanding of what a brand strategy looks like, how to differ based on the size of the company and who you work for, and why it's so important for a company to get right. Then I will finish with some examples of brand strategy. This is a little sample of what I teach in the brand strategy module of my course. So if you're interested in learning how to actually put together a world-class brand strategy, then you can check out my course with the details in the description. A brand strategy has two parts to it, the strategy and the guidelines. It will have the strategy on one page, which will be one paragraph, 2 points of view, the business and consumer, and 3 parts, the problem, goal, and solution. I have a whole video on how to write a strategy on a page, which you can see here. The important thing about this strategy on a page is that anyone in the business can pick it up, learn how to execute it, and understand why we're doing what we're doing. The second thing is guidelines. The guidelines tell us how this strategy comes to life through company touchpoints with the consumer. Just to clarify, when I say touchpoints, I mean all verbal and non-verbal messages a consumer receives from a brand. We realize that it's not just what we say, but how we say it and what we do that communicates our message. So the word touchpoints helps to show that the strategy extends beyond just words. When we think of touchpoints, maybe we go to very literal examples of the employees, the store, and the product packaging. But it also includes smaller, nuanced choices like the logo, the colors, fonts we choose. The most confusing part about brand strategy is that it can look wildly different depending on who you ask. There are 2 factors that impact what a brand strategy looks like. They are the size of the company and where you are standing. For brand strategy, the brand guidelines are the things that differ most dramatically depending on where you work and the size of the company. The rule of thumb is the bigger the company, the smaller the scope of the brand strategy. The majority of brand guidelines will cover the logo, type, tone of voice, and colors of the brand. This is ground zero of a brand strategy and shows how the brand comes to life through these basic elements. However, the scope of the brand strategy to impact a company can become a lot bigger than that. It can dictate, what do stores look like? Where are they located? What does the packaging look like? When we partner with other organizations, what values are we looking for? What charities do we align with for corporate social responsibilities? What celebrity endorsements do we do? What events do we sponsor? What influencers use our products? What other products or new innovations do we bring to the company? It can even have an impact on internal communications and human resources decisions like where our office is located, what do we look for when we hire employees, what values do they share that we want to be about? Are we about the team or individuals? For example, Virgin with Richard Branson or Best Buy with their blue shirts. So you can see the remit can grow bigger and bigger. You would think that the bigger the company grows, the more touch points they have with a consumer. This is true, but it also means there's more departments and employees in charge of those individual elements. With more elements, you have someone in charge of those different touch points with their own expertise on what works best in that touch point. So often, trying to get a brand strategy across a big company fails unless it comes from the very top, as it is hard to get people to adopt something that will take control away from their jobs, especially if they weren't involved in the decision-making process. The other major factor that impacts a brand strategy is where you're standing, or more specifically, who are you working for? If you work for the company, then it is back to the original question of how big is that company? If you're at a small company and the request is coming from the boss, then the scope of the brand strategy might be far reaching. However, if you work at a bigger company in a specific department, then the brand strategy will probably relate to the touch points that your department looks after. If you work at a creative agency, then it will mean that you are probably setting the tone for all the creative campaigns for that year. You might be coming up with a new tagline for a product or the overarching brand. You might be helping out with some of the logo and the rest of the assets, but in some bigger companies, that may be its own department too. It will be the guiding principle for all your work, the advertising campaigns. The brand strategy for a design studio would probably involve looking after the logo, font choices, colors, and maybe its brand values and personalities if it's a small company. The brand strategy at a PR agency would cover the work they create. The guidelines could all be about the tone of voice, brand values, who they pitch to, who they do celebrity sponsorships with. So depending on the size of the company and where you work, the brand strategy and more specifically, the guidelines are going to look different. To think that there is a need for brand strategy, you first need to believe that having a brand is important. You're not going to invest resources in something that is not important to the business making money. Thanks to Tom Roach, who had an open letter to CEOs about the importance of brand building for the following facts. Here are some of the hard numbers on why brands are important. By 2015, around 84% of the value of all businesses was intangible value, of which brand value is the key component, according to Ocean Tomo. The interesting thing is that every company has a brand. However, the strength of that brand is what we're interested in, because a clear and coherent brand strategy leads to a stronger brand. When you have a strong brand, you have financial gain. Here are the 3 data points about the financial gain from strong brands. According to MSCI World Index, strong brands outperform the average business in terms of shareholder returns, with the Brand Z portfolio of strong brands growing by 124% from 2006 to 2017 versus 34.9%. According to Kantar Millward Brown, strong brands can capture on average 3 times the sales volume of weak brands, according to a large study analysing shopper habits, and that strong brands were commanding a 13% premium over weak brands and 6% above the average brand. But let me leave you with the final words from the CEO of Quaker Oats, Jon Stewart. To illustrate the importance, he said, "If this company was to split up, I would give you the property, plant and equipment, and I would take the brand and the trademarks, and I would fare better than you." Thank you to the Planning Dirty Academy members for helping to find these facts. Brand strategy comes to 2 documents, the strategy on a page and the brand guidelines. These 2 documents are inextricably linked. You need to do the strategy documents before you do the brand guidelines. I've done a number of examples of how to write a strategy on a page in my other videos. However, today I want to show you 2 examples of brand guidelines that have been properly informed by the brand strategy. We don't see the brand strategy here, however we can guess that the brand strategy would have been working around the idea that people want to experience joy and happiness on a day-to-day level. The problem with this, which McDonald's doesn't have to shine a light on, is daily responsibilities, the whole daily grind of work and family responsibilities. People are looking for the escape when they want to get a fast meal, something that tastes good and can bring them that instant hit of happiness. That translates into their brand guidelines of feel-good moments. What they do well here is that they take the idea of feel-good moments through all their touch points. The photography is every day, but with the unexpected twist, which is the feel-good aspect. The other thing that is great about these brand guidelines is that they show you how to and how not to use the design elements. Another good example is Klarna. When we look at the consumer problem we can see that the checkout process had previously been clunky and layered. Not an easy process that made people question the reliability of a lot of sites. Klarna provided the solution by developing a payment system which was smooth. This created stress-free payments. Having the word smooth as the starting point, you can see how smooth, which stood for confidence and simplicity, came to life. When we see the choices that they make with Smooth, they bring that to life in memorable ways that capture the eye of the consumer. We also see an interesting point here, where they bring it to life in different ways depending on where the messaging is in the consumer journey. It starts with the more absurdist messages to get your attention, and then moves on to more straightforward and simple messaging. This all strikes the confidence tone because they're always using simple words rather than trying to bamboozle you with big words. The color, which is a big part of it, also speaks to smooth confidence and simplicity, being associated with pink. This brings me to the number one mistake that I see when creating brand strategy. Too many brands I see start a brand strategy from the wrong place. You need to be starting from the consumer problem and goal that you are helping them achieve. It doesn't start with a perceptual map of your competitors and finding the white space. It doesn't start from you briefing a designer in with a mood board of what you want the brand to look like. It has to start with the consumer, and the strategy all builds from there. My name is Julian Cole, the founder of the Strategy Finishing School, and if you're interested in learning how to make a brand strategy, check out the school for more information.